I love the film Fight Club and I wanted to see how quickly I could become Brad Pitt shredded. And it only took me 8 weeks, and I'm going to tell you the 3 rules that I live by to get Brad Pitt shredded.
Welcome to Fight Club.
Now let's get into it.
The first rule of Fight Club is
no 2 days are the same. You'll hear a lot of fitness coaches shouting calorie deficit from the rooftops. Calorie deficit! How I worked out my calorie deficit was very different to what they will tell you. And I'll come back to that because the second rule needs to be addressed first.
Second rule of Fight Club is
cardio. Did I do cardio? I did no cardio. And you'll hear a lot of people saying that cardio reigns supreme when it comes to fat loss goals, and this is not true at all. There were 2 things I did, and these were get out for a walk in the morning, get out for a walk in the afternoon. Now I'm going to talk about the most important rule of all 3, and I'll go back to the first rule just to cover off a few little bits that I missed.
Third rule of Fight Club.
I didn't calculate a calorie deficit.
What?
Yeah, I know. I calculated what my current calorie consumption was. I knew that my weight was static, so that means it didn't go up, it didn't go down, it was kind of always hovering around the same point. So that meant what I was currently consuming must be what my maintenance level of calories is. Why didn't I use a generic calorie calculator? Well, I did towards the end, and I'll explain why, but it's for a different reason than you would expect. But let's go back to rule number 1 where I can explain a little bit better. No 2 days are the same. So we need to be in a calorie deficit of 3,500 to lose a pound of body fat. That works out at 500 per day. That means every day would be the same. But our bodies aren't that clever. We don't need to be in a 500 calorie deficit every single day. But as long as our overall deficit is 3,500 over the space of a week, you will lose a pound of body fat. Now let's go back to rule number 3. Let's go forward to rule number 3. Let's go to rule number 3.
Third rule of Fight Club.
So I wanted to get to Brad Pitt shape very, very quickly, and I did this in 8 weeks, but it wasn't with a 500 calorie deficit. I knew where my calories were, and I was staying stable. I needed to drop it down to 1,000 calorie deficit. If I was to follow a generic calorie calculator, it would probably give me a ridiculously low level of calories, and I would be miserable. But because I knew what my calories were, and I was staying stable, I knew that I just had to take 1,000 off that. So why did I use a generic calculator as well? Because I wanted to make sure that I was within 200 to 300 calories of what the generic calculator would be, because I knew then I'd be roughly in the right ballpark. Using all this will get you down to low levels of body fat, but that will be absolutely useless if you don't know how to train without burning out, and that is my next video.